What's up, guys? Dylan back here with a new video for you guys. In this video, I'm going to be talking about our Game 7s from yesterday and today. We had 5 Game 7s, 3 of them were yesterday, 2 of them today being Sunday. And the 3 series, of course there's 8 playoff series, so obviously we're talking about the NBA here. The first 3 series we had wrapped up earlier. We had the Heat sweeping the Bobcats 4-0. We had the Wizards beating the Bulls 4-1, and then we also had Portland beating Houston, which was an incredible series, 4-2 in Portland, Rip City, off an amazing Damian Lillard game-winning 3, which I predicted in my head. I didn't want to tweet it out, didn't want to jinx him, but it happened, and it was crazy. But that's not what we're talking about here, so we're going to go in chronological order. I'm going to talk about the Pacers first. So the Pacers beat the Hawks on Saturday, 92 to 80, and they beat the Hawks 4-3. And it was a very interesting series. The Pacers have been kind of on a landslide since March, and the Hawks brought an interesting challenge. The Pacers like to play traditionally with 2 big men. They got David West and Roy Hibbert down on the blocks. And that was a problem because Atlanta likes to stretch the floor with Paul Millsap and Pero Antic. Those guys like to set up behind the 3-point arc and pop a 3 every once in a while. And Antic didn't find too much success. Indiana adapted pretty well, and he was pretty much shut down. He couldn't find his stroke, and he was struggling the whole series, which is one reason the Pacers were able to come out on top. And they played a really great game on Saturday. I mean, they looked like the team that we saw earlier on in the season that was getting, that was a title contender, that was considered a title contender, and not possibly a first-round exit to the only sub-500 team in the playoffs, which would have been shocking. It would have probably caused, a coaching change. It would have caused maybe Lance Stevenson to not be re-signed, maybe Hibbert be traded. But Indiana stepped up. They won in front of their home crowd, 92 to 80. Paul George, 30 points, 11 rebounds, and this is his 6th double-double in the 7 games. So he's really been stepping up. He, along with the Pacers, has been struggling, but he really has played a great series, and that's one reason they won. He was just hitting so many shots yesterday. He was shooting with confidence, and he was knocking down some tough shots, which is good to see from him. As he was considered a superstar and kind of on the edge of becoming a superstar early on in the season, and he was in that MVP race with LeBron and Kevin Durant, which obviously faded away. But he's played a great series. And then Lance Stevenson, who is a free agent this summer, 19 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, played a really good game. He brings that energy. He got behind the Pacers crowd, the Bankers Life Fieldhouse crowd, I should say, and just brought the energy. And he really closed the game out with a slam, as the game was winding down. Put away the Hawks. And David West, he struggled on offense, after his back must have been hurting from carrying them in Game 6 down in Atlanta. He was 4 for 5 in the 4th quarter of that game. And this game, he only had 4 points on 1 of 7 shooting. But, of course, the veteran he is stepped up elsewhere. 13 rebounds and 6 blocks. So, he knew he couldn't really do much on offense. Couldn't get his shot going. So he did great things, on defense and all across the board, besides shooting. And then Roy Hibbert, the man of the month, it seems. He's had the spotlight on him in a bad way. Been playing horribly. 13 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 blocks. He really needed that game. You could tell throughout the whole game he was just happy. He was excited that he could finally get something going. And now that he'll be playing Marcin Gortat and with the Wizards, a more traditional guy, he doesn't have to worry about Marcin jumping out and shooting a 3 too often. Those guys don't really shoot 3s too much. Those guys being Nene and Gortat. So he'll definitely have an easier time there with the Wizards. Not that they're an easy team to beat. Obviously, they show against the Bulls that they're a tough team. But they don't have to worry about, 3-point shooting from all 5 players on this court. And then from Atlanta, 15 points from Paul Millsap on 6 of 21 shooting, 17 rebounds and 4 steals. Paul Millsap, maybe a little bit of a flopper, but he can rebound for sure. He's really good at rebounding. Let's just say that. And then 4 steals, like I said. And then the sharpshooter, Kyle Korver, 19 points, 6 of 13 shooting from the field, 5 of 10 from 3-point land. Obviously a great shooter, but he's had trouble getting out of the first round with the Hawks, who seem to, look pretty good in the regular season, although this year they had a little bit of a landslide in the middle of the season, but made the playoffs still, and couldn't get out of the first round, though. And then Mike Scott, the regional manager, 15 points, and then Shelvin Mack, 13 points and 7 assists off the bench, and of course Mike Scott coming off the bench as well. So that wraps up that game. Thunder beat the Grizzlies 4-3 in the series after a 120-109 win, and of course Zach Randolph was suspended this game. He punched Steven Adams in Game 6, and you can't really do that. You're your team's best player, and you can't go punching people. He knew he'd get suspended if he did it, but he just did it anyway. And although he's a veteran player, he should have known better than that. He should have, told himself, okay, if I do this, then I'm done. I'm not going to play Game 7. And he did it anyway, and he got suspended, and his team lost because of it. And, Kevin Durant scoring 33 points, having 8 rebounds, is also a problem. Of course, Mr. Unreliable turns to Mr. Undeniable. He's had 2 great games after those reports came out. If you haven't heard about them, some people came out with some stories about Mr. Unreliable. Tony Allen was shutting him down. He wasn't scoring. The Thunder were losing, but he stepped it up, and he's played great the past 2 games. And then Russell Westbrook with the triple-double, 27 points, 16 assists, 10 rebounds. And Russell Westbrook at his best is really good. And, although he does take shots away from Kevin Durant, which can be a problem, this game he did really well. I mean, he scored 27 points and distributed 16 assists, so awesome showing from Westbrook there. And then Reggie Jackson coming off the bench with 16 points on 5 of 6 shooting. Now moving to the Grizzlies, Marc Gasol, 24 points, 6 assists, 4 steals. Mike Conley, 20 points, 9 assists, and 4 steals as well. And then Beno Udrih coming off the bench with 12 points. Now moving on to the Clippers and Warriors, 126-121. This was a great series as well. Curry versus Chris Paul. I really like the Warriors, and I was sad to see they couldn't move on. Without Bogut, if they had Bogut, I'm fairly sure they would have won that series. Bogut is a factor. He showed that last year in the playoffs. He's had some trouble staying healthy, like he obviously is now. But he showed last year when he is healthy, he's a really solid player. And, although the Warriors almost beat the Clippers, if he was there, they definitely would have, in my opinion. So the Clippers, of course, this is Game 7, so they won the series 4-3. And it is nice seeing the Clippers win after that whole Donald Sterling thing. They had a lot of negative tension coming towards their organization, although it wasn't necessarily at the organization, it was just at Donald Sterling. Everyone got behind the Clippers, so it's nice to see them move on. And they'll be playing the Thunder next round, which will start Monday, being tomorrow. Or today, considering it's 1 a.m. Blake Griffin, 24 points, 6 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Had a great season. Blake Griffin, I used to really not like him because he got so much attention for dunk and dunk. He was in ESPN SportsCenter's top 10 plays every day for his dunks, which, dunks are cool. But, everyone was acting like he was some sort of superstar because he is really good at dunks. But, he's really had a great season. He's starting to knock down his jump shots. He's really turned the page as a player, and I think he, all around, can be an MVP one day. Chris Paul, 22 points, 14 assists, 4 steals. Of course, the best point guard in the game. Doesn't get better than that. 14 assists and 22 points. And, of course, 4 steals. So, classic point guard right there. And then Jamal Crawford coming off the bench, doing what he does, 22 points. And his brother on the other side, Jordan Crawford, who was traded there from Boston this season, 12 points off the bench, a good showing from him too. Those two are both really good scorers off the bench. Steph Curry, 33 points, 9 assists. Can't say much about that. You know, he's Steph Curry. So, Draymond Green, a career playoff high, 24 points, 7 rebounds. I don't believe the rebounds are a playoff high, but 24 points. And he had a big 3 down the stretch. You know, obviously they couldn't win, but it helped them either get closer or tie. I don't remember what the case was, but either way, he had a big 3. And then Maurice Spates with 10 points. Big fan of Maurice Spates. I like him. He reminds me of David West, kind of a tough guy. You know, doesn't really fight too much, but he'll stick up for his team or himself if he needs to. Kind of a grit and grind type of guy. And then moving on to Sunday here, Nets beat the Raptors 104-103. That was a good game. The Raptors, you know, inside the paint, they were shooting really well, but outside the paint, they were having trouble knocking down shots. And they still clawed their way back. They kept up with Brooklyn at home. Drake going crazy on the sidelines, but they couldn't pull it out. You know, Kyle Lowry had a shot at the very end. It was blocked by Paul Pierce. Sent them home crying, you know. But the Raptors have a good future. They have some really young players. They just need some experience with Lowry and guys like DeMar DeRozan and Amir Johnson. I think they can really be a solid team down the road. Maybe even next year they can make it, you know, to the next round at least. So Joe Johnson here, 26 points. He had some big shots. Wasn't really missing too much. Marcus Thornton, 17 points, 6 rebounds. I love Marcus Thornton. He's a great shooter. And then Sean Livingston, 10 points off the bench. Sean Livingston's a pretty solid player as well. Backing up. Darren Williams and Amir Johnson over here in Toronto, 20 points, 10 rebounds. Doing what he does. Kyle Lowry, 28.7 rebounds, and he's just had a fabulous season. Sad to see it come to an end. You know, there's some trade rumors throughout the year, but the Raptors kept Lowry. Even though they did shop him, they kept him, and they're definitely happy because he's really become one of the better point guards in the NBA. And then Patrick Patterson coming over from that trade with the Kings that involved Rudy Gay. 16 points on 5 of 5 shooting and 8 rebounds. Really good game from him. Coming off the bench. Obviously wasn't enough though, but they kept him in it. So, and then the last game here, Spurs beat Mavs 119-96. And they won the series 4-3. It was a closer series than most expected. I knew the Mavs would put up a fight, but not that much of a fight. Although I did know that the Spurs would come out at home, Game 7, on a Sunday afternoon. They were not losing. And Tony Parker proved that with 32 points, and Manu Ginobili with 20 points, 5 assists, and 6 steals off the bench. I don't know how this guy keeps doing it, as well as Tony Parker and even Tim Duncan. I don't know how these guys keep doing stuff like this, but specifically Ginobili, who comes off the bench. I believe he played 24 minutes in this game. 20 points, 5 assists, 6 steals. He's really effective in the limited amount of time he plays. And then on the other side here, in a losing effort, Dirk Nowitzki, the veteran power forward, matched up with Tim Duncan, of course. 22 points, 9 rebounds. And man, he is slow, but he hits those shots still. And then Devin Harris, 17 points, and Vince Carter, 10 points off the bench. So that about wraps it up for you guys. Hopefully that was a good, you know, thorough recap of the Game 7s from today. Maybe talked a little bit too long here, but you know, we got some good playoff basketball coming up. We had a great first round. I believe that I saw a stat there was like 58 combined games or something like that, which is like the most in history, which is not surprising at all. There was a lot of, you know, obviously 5 Game 7s, all of them this weekend, which was awesome. So got some good basketball coming up, some more good basketball, I should say. And I'm thinking about doing some previews for each series. You know, we'll see. The 2 games tomorrow are Pacers and Wizards. That kicks off at 7 on TNT. And then we got Clippers and Thunder kicking off. Don't know what time. Probably around 9:30, I'd say. Maybe 10. I'm not sure. Probably 9:30. Not sure the channel either. It might be ESPN or TNT. I don't believe NBA TV will be casting games anymore since there's only, you know, eight teams left. They can fit all those games on ESPN and TNT. So, looking forward to some good basketball here. Some great teams left, obviously. They get past the first round. A great first round. Every team really was good. Even a sub-500 team put up a fight against the top seed in the East, so it's been good. It's been good so far. I'm expecting it to get better, though. We got some good matchups here. We got Spurs Trailblazers, which will be fantastic. Damian Lillard versus Tony Parker, which will be really fun to watch. And then we've got the Pacers and Wizards. We've got Heat and Nets. We've got Thunder Clippers, and we've got that's it. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch. Really looking forward to some good playoff basketball, which is really nice that it'll be starting right away here. No breaks. We got Monday kicking it off, so it'll be fun. I'll have videos for you guys. I know it's been a few days here, but I've been writing, I've been grinding, I've been doing all this stuff. Actually went out to, not lunch, had some coffee, even though I didn't actually have coffee, with Howard Beck yesterday, who is, I mean, he's a top NBA writer. He writes for Bleacher Report, if you guys don't already know who he is. But he's a great writer. If you don't know who he is, go check him out. He's wrote for the LA Daily News and the New York Times before joining up with Bleacher Report. So Gary gave me some great advice, and we're going to be talking in the future more. So really awesome meeting him. And yeah, I'm thinking about putting my author page for 8.9 seconds down in the description for videos here on out, so you guys can check me out. On the writing side, I was thinking about maybe just posting specific articles, but putting, the author page is easier. You guys can go through there and see all the articles I've written recently, or even whenever. I just started with 8.9 seconds, but maybe down the line you guys can look at some articles from, maybe today or whatever. So anyway, guys, that is it for me. I will see you hopefully tomorrow with some series previews for the games tomorrow, and then some more on Tuesday. I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow, like I just said.